Okay, we're recording. Welcome. So today I was unable to find a decent signal over in the yurt, which is why I'm a few minutes late. So I came back to the house and seems perfect because what I had been considering, what had come to me to speak of is that um, the power of losing, because I don't know about you, but the culture that I seem to live in seems to be about winning. Winning is the virtue. And so it's all about winning and never want to lose. And what occurs to me is, well, first of all, that I have a lot of experience of losing, and that losing has been an enormous gift. And so my experience doesn't really line up with the cultural value of winning at all costs, never wanting to lose. And also, um, in I'm not a Buddhist. I don't know a tremendous amount about Buddhism, but I've heard it said, I've heard talk about beginner's mind and coming with your bowl empty. And if all we're ever doing is winning, then to me at least, it's worth considering what is the consequence of winning all the time. And it seems fairly obvious to me that the consequence of winning all the time is being burdened. It's like going to a carnival, and if you just win all this stuff at the carnival, you come home and you've just got a truckload of crap that nobody really wants, definitely nobody needs. So all of the winning, what good did it really do? It burdened us, came home with a whole bunch of crap. And so to lose, I'm proposing, has virtue, is beneficial. And so we're losing all the time, actually. I mean, but we know that, but we oftentimes experience that as a negative thing. We have anxiety about losing. We don't want to lose. And what I'm proposing is that actually it's beneficial because it's an unburdening, and it reveals what it is that we really value. Even if sometimes when we lose, we actually are really sad about what we've lost. Even if what we've lost is something that we do value, it can reveal to us that we value what we value, maybe things that we've taken for granted. So some examples from my life, I mean, I could think of a million of them. um, when I was, I think, 20, 20, 22, 21 or 22, I had this job working in Santa Monica, California. I lived in, I lived in the valley, as they say. And so to get from where I lived to this job in Santa Monica that paid me $60,000 a year, which was pretty good for 21, 22. And I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was show up. But to get there, it was 16 miles, but it took 2 hours to get there. And I hated it. I hated getting there and I hated being there because there was nothing for me to do. I just was supposed to show up so I could get paid. And then 2 hours commute back. And so about a year into this job, I was called into the HR office, and the head of HR said, we're letting you go. And boy, was I angry. I was so angry. How dare you let me go? I'm the most valuable person here. That's what I actually said. I know how to do stuff none of these other idiots know how to do. I mean, it was obvious why they were letting me go. I was the highest paid person there, and nobody was doing anything. So I was so angry, and I drove home, and I was so angry, and then I was afraid. Oh no! Now that I don't have this job, what am I going to do? And I don't know. A week later, this guy contacted me with this job opportunity where I could work from home and get paid twice as much. So doesn't always work out that way. I mean, I have plenty of examples where it didn't work out nearly as nicely, but the point in this example was just I was so angry about losing, and how dare they? But what it revealed to me was I didn't want to be, I hated commuting to that job. And it wasn't meaningful. It wasn't work that satisfied my soul. I wasn't doing good work in the world. I wasn't helping anybody. We were selling ringtones, for God's sake. It's not a joke. We were selling ringtones. And so losing was a good thing. Just shortly after that, I had been in a relationship with this woman who, it was just a terrible relationship. Neither of us were happy. We were both miserable. But then she broke up with me. Same sort of thing. How dare you? I actually contacted her not that long ago, maybe just a year ago. I had reached out and sent an email and just saying, hey, hope you're well, and I'm really, 20 years down the line, I realized what a jerk I was, and I'm sorry. And her response was, yeah, I wasn't happy either. I wish you the best. But, it was we were both miserable. So her breaking up with me was the best thing that could have happened. Um, I went on to lose a whole lot. I lost my mind. It's crazy. Nearly lost my life. Lost my friends. Came close to losing my family, not because they would have abandoned me, but because I cut myself off from them, my parents and my sister. And all of this has revealed to me what it is that I really value, what's really important. And it's not the things that I thought were important. It's not the money or the things. It's not the confirmation from others about how I'm okay and I'm lovable, because that was never enough. Never gave me what I was really longing for. So all of the things that I've lost have offered me the possibility of just being here fresh, without the burden of any of that. And with humility, the humility of, oh yeah, I'm I'm not that I'm not what I think I am. I'm not the good things that I think I am, and I'm not the bad things that I think I am. I'm just what I am. And then I can just show up, just being myself. And that's not a burden because that's not something that I can get more of, and it's not something I can lose. So I can't win or lose when it comes to being myself. There's no possibility of winning or losing there. But and maybe it's just because I'm thick-headed and had a lot of arrogance, and maybe other people aren't as burdened by these things as I was. But to whatever degree a person is burdened by thick-headedness or arrogance or anything else, unworthiness, shame, humiliation, then what I'm proposing is just lose happily, because it's really quite joyful just to be yourself. Then you don't really have anything left to lose. And what's beautiful about this is that we each are, I am convinced, I see it in everybody. I see everybody. I mean, in the most surprising places where I thought, oh, not that person. I met one of my neighbors really for the first time just a couple days ago. He's a very interesting character, not the sort of person who I would typically be friends with. He makes some different choices in life than I do, but it was really a gift to receive him. It was just a real beautiful gift. And part of that was he was really he's just himself. God bless him. No pretense. And that I'm convinced is true of everybody. Everybody is a gift. You are a gift, and not for all the things that you've won, and not for anything that could be taken away. So then maybe losing doesn't have to be such a thing to be avoided, because anything that you could lose, that's not you. We came into this world naked with nothing. We didn't have anything. We didn't know anything. We didn't have any ideas about ourselves. We didn't have ideas about our greatness, and we didn't have ideas about our horribleness. We didn't have any concept of ourselves at all. And you look at a baby, and I mean, it's a very unwell person who could look at a baby and not see perfection because it's so obvious. We look at a baby and we just immediately recognize that perfection and that beauty and the gift. And that's true of all of us still, because what has changed? We made the mistake of thinking that we could lose something of real value, that we could lose something of ourselves And I'm convinced that there's no possibility of that. We cannot lose ourselves. We cannot lose anything of real value. It's all, it's like we are being, I believe, it's my experience that we are being actually refined and shaped. It's an expression I'm going to use, but by the hands of God, by the perfection of life, to reveal the essence of our beauty and our gift. And we become so afraid every time we feel that we might lose something, that we might be exposed, possibly because we don't trust that who we are, just as we are, without having to make any effort or protect ourselves or puff ourselves up to be something great. We don't trust that that's enough, but I know it is enough. And I know that every one of you knows that it's enough too. Maybe not for yourself. That's the funny thing, is that we sometimes have a hard time seeing it for ourselves, but we all can see it in others at times. Maybe not in all others. Maybe we have a hard time with some people if we don't agree with their politics or their religious views, or their, if it's our neighbors and they're playing their stereo too loud or whatever. But we're able to see it sometimes in some people. And like I said, if no one else, we can see it in a baby. Because you look at that baby and what is there that's wrong? What's not enough? So for a moment, let's all just see if we can discover that right now for ourselves. Can we see ourselves just as we would see a baby? And hopefully that's easy, but if it seems hard, then what's hard about it? Because if it seems hard, then what I would propose is just take a look and see if maybe what could seem hard is just some unnecessary effort that you're making. That just for a moment, maybe you could be willing to just set down. And maybe we can start to notice that everything that happens in our lives, it's like the waves of the ocean against the shore or against the cliffs, just taking away what's unnecessary. Sometimes it seems stormy and turbulent and frightening. It's just taking away what's not necessary. What we didn't really want. We thought we wanted it. Just like I thought I wanted that job. All these things that we think, I need this, I need that. Okay, I'm willing to lose, but not that. Please, not that, not that. But that too will lose. We know that we will. And it's okay not to want to lose it right now. And maybe we don't want to lose our bodies right now. We don't want to lose our loved ones. We don't want to lose our children. We don't want to lose our parents. We don't want to lose our friends, our spouses. Okay, it's fine. I'm not saying you need to get rid of them. Although, to tell the truth, sometimes you want to get rid of them. We want it both ways. But what I've noticed is that I am still afraid. So it's not that I've gotten rid of fear. The fear is still comes. But it's a different relationship with fear. The old prayer, I think, was something like, please God, take the fear away. Please God, take away the circumstances that lead to this fear. Let me only win. And now I'd say the prayer is more, please God, help me to discover the jewel in this fear. I know that I will. I trust in that. Thank you. And then who knows what will happen or what it will look like or what it will feel like. But it is a jewel. And it's discovered in what seems like fear, what seems like loss. Not that we have to shun winning. I'm not suggesting that either. I'm not saying never win. Give away all your possessions. I mean, if you're going to give away all your money, you can give it to me. But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying life is doing its thing. And like the waves on the cliffs, it's taking away what doesn't need to be. So then when I talk about, as I have been talking about recently, that everything that happens, I'm convinced everything that happens is a perfect expression of wholeness. It is absolutely divinely perfect presently as it is. And it is a movement that is continuing to reveal that perfection ever anew. So if it doesn't seem like it, then, which I get it, it doesn't sometimes. But what I've found is that the maturity of life experience and really just starting to tell the truth about it reveals that, hey, look at this. I'm still here. Not only am I still here, but actually, if I really tell the truth, deep down, in spite of all my imagined problems, I'm okay. Now, I can certainly invest a lot of energy into spinning around in all of the imagined problems, and then I can work myself up into a frenzy of it's not okay. I got to win. I can't lose. Life's not okay. Life's not trustworthy. Here come the waves again. Quick, put up the defenses. But the deeper truth is, and I say the deeper truth, I don't mean a deeper truth that is some sort of esoteric thing. I mean the deeper truth, just that I believe each of us can tell for ourselves based on our own actual experience. I'm here and I'm okay. Despite all of my thoughts that would suggest otherwise, because we could all list out all the things that are wrong, all the things that we've done that are wrong, all the things that other people have done that are wrong, how we've been harmed, how we've harmed others, how the world is all wrong, politicians are all wrong, the corporations are all wrong, everything's all wrong. But despite all of that, I'm here and I'm okay right now. So what that reveals to me, and I'm proposing that it might reveal the same to you, is that actually this is perfect. And all that's happening is that I'm losing everything that I don't need. What a gift that is. Because who needs to be burdened by all this stuff that they don't need? So then we can, and some of you have heard me talk about positive expectation. So the positive expectation doesn't mean, oh, I'm only going to win. Everything's going to work out the way I want it to. What it means is, I, I think I've caught on to this a little bit. Oh, I see. Every time I check, here I am and I'm okay. Every time, without fail. There has never been a time when I'm not here and I'm not okay. I might be experiencing all kinds of things. I might have a lot of opinions about it. I might be experiencing lots of sensations. But the deeper truth is I'm here and I'm okay. All the things that I feared, they didn't really, the core of what I feared was never came true, because I'm still here and I'm okay. So if I can look and see that that's always true, then maybe I can start to have this trust that that seems to be the name of the game. That seems to be what's going on. So positive expectation is really just being anchored in that I'm here and I'm okay. Come what may, because it will. The waves will come, the storms will come. And all that I think I am and all that I think I need will be taken. And yet, consistently, despite what is taken, despite what I lose, I am here and I'm okay. So that's all I have to say for now. Uh, I say that's all I have to say. I'll say a few more words, but I would like to open it up for anybody who would like to share or ask a question. As always, I want to mention that this is being recorded. It will go up on YouTube. So if you choose to speak, then that will be included in the recording. I really want to acknowledge and express my gratitude for your courage, just to be here. And also, if you choose to speak, your courage to do so and to allow that to be included in the recording, because your courage to do so does touch upon other people's lives. I know that it can be challenging sometimes. I'm doing it all the time, so I do understand. I have lots of opinions about the things that I say, and after the fact, usually have some harsh judgments about it. But consistently, I get feedback from somebody somewhere that it made a difference for them. Not just what I say. In fact, usually not what I say. Usually what somebody else says. So your sharing and your courage touches upon other people's lives. And I really do believe that we're all in this together. Not even a belief, it's just obvious. We're all in this together. Oh, and sometimes people who are watching these want to know, how can they attend live? It's at, I think it's at joeylott.com/now, I think is the correct URL. And there's a link there to sign up to register for these. There's no charge, although I do always appreciate donations, which you can make at joeylott.com/give. But to register to participate in these live, it's joeylott.com/now. I'm 99% sure that's correct. Okay, so now, if anybody would like to speak, the way it works is just unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, Joey.
Hi.
So if I were to PayPal you, it would be joeylott.com/give. Is that how it would work? Just like that. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Even though everything you said just so resonated with me, I am really afraid of being abandoned. And I just wanted to talk about it for myself, even though you just addressed it all, that I cannot be abandoned and that it's always here. And of course, I have story about it. My only child has abandoned me. I mean, she doesn't talk to me.
Yeah.
I have difficulty with my family and my two brothers that don't seem to connect with me very well. So I feel that they don't like me. And so I have a job where I feel I fit in and I get along. A lot of my spare time is spent reading about this sort of thing and about watching videos like this, because this is my greatest interest. And I'm dating a man I really like for over 2 years. The reason I like him is because he seems to be so real and doesn't hide anything, even though he can be very gross at times. That's how he feels, and yet I'm still attracted to that. And I'm really afraid that he will abandon me. And right now, there's really no clear evidence that he would do that, but the fear is always there. And when you say speak the truth deep down, I don't even really know what that means. If I were to share with him my truth deep down would be, I'm afraid you're going to abandon me. And that probably wouldn't be the deepest truth. I don't really know. And in our conversations, he's a contractor. He always talks about his work. And when I start talking about mine, he says, you know, that's all fluff. I really don't care to listen. So he doesn't give me much space. So I feel I feel kind of ignorant because he doesn't really know me, and you're asking, you know, you might be thinking, why are you in this relationship? And that's because I'm afraid to be alone with my thoughts. So it's better to be able to have someone to travel with now and then, and to have lunch with, and to do this is the way I feel, because I'm scared to be alone too. So I feel in a double bind. And I just, you said, yeah. So that's, I think I've kind of said it all. I just wanted to verbalize and put it into words, and I can actually feel it in my chest of always holding something or being afraid. And I know you can understand what I'm saying, because you kind of addressed it in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, so you have the list of the ways that you've been abandoned, and certainly those ways in which you have been abandoned. So I don't think that you came into this life most likely with just abandonment issues. Probably you came in as this perfect, innocent little baby, and then you learned along the way how to be abandoned. And so then you have all of this evidence, and it becomes a vicious cycle, because then you say, well, I'm going to be abandoned. And then, oh yeah, there's more evidence. I got abandoned again. And so I know I'm going to be abandoned again, and oh, yep, there I'm abandoned again. So it continues to like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you say you don't know what the deeper truth is. So let's just take a look, if you're willing, and just notice that all of this fear that gets projected outward onto all of these people who are going to abandon you or who have abandoned you is reflecting something, because they don't, I mean, they certainly can do these things, and that can be hurtful, and I understand that. And I'm not gonna not one of those people to say that none of that matters, because it does matter. Of course it matters. But your experience is your experience. So they might do the actions that of not talking to you, saying mean things to you, telling you that they don't want you in their life, whatever they do.
Mostly I tell myself that.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's right. And so then we're getting a little closer. So what's even closer than that? And it's not an answer you're going to find in your thoughts, but just notice what's closer.
There's a relaxation and almost tears.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like I've been holding this up so long. I certainly haven't been myself. Because of that fear.
Yeah.
I have to pretend to be something I'm not because of. Let me go back into the relaxation that feels more true.
Mm-hmm. Well, but both are valuable. So notice you have this sense of this, what you say is more true. And then there's this almost reflexive movement. And if you were to give words to that, what does that say? That reflexive movement away from, or whatever that movement is. What are the words that it would say, if it could say words?
I don't quite understand.
Yeah. So imagine for a moment that somebody in your life who shows up every day, who is present for you, who listens to you, who doesn't need you to be any particular way, who actually accepts you and loves you just as you are. Now, maybe there's some part of that that would feel good, but then there's something else, right? And what is that something else?
I think what comes to me is that I do have 3 people in my life that I feel I can really be myself with. And that's something else. I mean, these 3 people really seem to understand and really seem to kind of say, yes, I have felt that way too, or kind of support me in what I'm saying by saying they too have felt that, just like you are. And that's my attraction to you. When you talk, you're so admitting what you've gone through. And that's something else is sometimes when I talk to other people, they want to tell me how to be, or they say you shouldn't feel this way. You've got everything going for you. Why are you feeling this way? Or some type of correction to who I am. And if only you weren't. I mean, I think, I don't know, but that seems to come back to me. And that just kind of feeds the kind of inadequacy or unworthiness. But I find that that type of dialogue, even with my boyfriend, is what I'm afraid of hearing. I'm so sick of hearing that. And I think they become fearful of what I say and they want to squish it somehow. I mean, but that's still intellectual.
Well, so from my perspective, we're getting closer. So imagine now, because you said, you used the words, your sense of inadequacy and unworthiness.
Yes.
And so what I'm suggesting is imagine for a moment, not something that you presently know, because it seems like you don't have the kind of, you don't have presently the kind of relationship that I'm talking about. I'm talking about, just imagine.
I'm sorry. Let me just what.
It's okay.
Like that.
Call from.
So you can imagine, possibly, that there's somebody who doesn't need you to be other than you are, who's not trying to correct you or shame you or suggest that there's something wrong with you or that you need to change in any way. Somebody who, no matter what you do and no matter what you're feeling, accepts you completely as you are. Now just see if that's not something you know from your life necessarily. You might not have had this experience, but just see if you can imagine what that might be like and notice how you might react or feel. So imagine that you've just done something that you feel ashamed of, or that you've said something that you feel ashamed of. And you're with somebody who knows what you've said or done and who is seeing you just for the perfection that you are, and who's not needing you to be different, and who's receiving and accepting you completely. And what I'm proposing is that on the one hand, this can be really wonderful, but on the other hand, just notice if you become aware of any other reaction that you have to such a scenario. You're still muted.
It feels really good to imagine that, and then I go into, but they really don't know who I am.
Right.
And if I'm with them long enough, they will abandon me.
Right. And so what I'm wanting you to then notice is how you do that. So there's still then this sense of they don't really know me. Even though they know what I've just said or done, and here I am feeling ashamed, but they're receiving me and accepting me completely. There's this discomfort. There's a discomfort in being seen. And then there's a sense of, why are they not seeing what it is that I perceive of myself? Because I perceive that there's something wrong with me, something unacceptable about me. And so they must just not be seeing it. Just wait until they see it. They're not seeing it this time, but tomorrow they'll see it. And when they see it tomorrow, they'll abandon me. So who's abandoning you? Yeah. Over and over and over.
I see right now when you're saying that, it's a habit.
Mhm.
It's a habit I've become accustomed to. There's something more to that. I'm not real sure.
Well, there may well be, but it's not something that you need to understand in thought or language, because I feel like you received it just then.
Yes.
It became clear to you. And then the tendency is to want to leap out of that because it's a little bit uncomfortable to realize.
Oh, yeah. So when that arises, to continue to see it, just to continue to see it, because it certainly will arise again. It doesn't go away like in a second here.
And you can see that it's just the habit of abandoning yourself. So then you see this, and then it can just feed back into the same cycle of, oh no, that's the thing that's wrong with me, is I abandoned myself. And then back into the same vicious cycle. Oh, that's what's wrong with me. Well, I got to fix that. When I fix that, then I'll be worthy. But instead, what I'm proposing is just receive the innocence of yourself, the innocence of your own self-abandonment, and recognize that in this moment right now, in this moment of seeing, before you leap out of it, in this moment is perfect healing. Which doesn't mean that the conditioning might not reassert itself, because it's wise to assume that it will. But just in this moment, you can see your own innocence and receive that, your own perfection. It's just like a little kid. A little kid who, they did something and they know, uh-oh, mom's not going to be happy about that. And then mom walks in and they're hide it behind their back. So it's innocent. It's not something bad about you. You just learn to hide because you were afraid that if people saw you, then they would be upset with you or reject you or abandon you. So then you preempted that. Well, I'll make sure they don't abandon me. I'll just abandon me first. I mean, I know that only because I can know that from my own experience. It's just what we all do.
Yes.
And the only thing that I've found that really is a correction, let's say, to that is just to be totally, to receive yourself in your own innocence and just to see the innocence of it. Oh yeah, I feel ashamed. I feel unworthy. And yet, right now, in this moment, I can just see my own innocence and perfection. There's nothing unworthy here. Now, I might believe it again a second later, but right now I can see it. Right now I can see, oh, I'm okay.
So it's just in one moment to see that. And am I hearing you say that if I can do that, that it will start to build up, that I'm okay and innocent?
Well, in a sense, it's true. And so it's tricky because there is a progressive nature to it, like what you're describing, but it only comes through the instantaneous revelation now, right?
Right.
So if you put it off until later because you say, oh well, if I keep practicing it, then it will happen. That doesn't work. It has
Right.
to be to have the courage to be exposed now. And it feels like you're exposed to the world, but really it's just to be exposed to yourself, just
Yes.
to expose to yourself your own innocence, and to really just shine the light of your own self on yourself, and to see your own perfection, which I understand from the conditioned perspective can be really painful. But in this instant, that's it. It's totally complete now. And then, yes, it's true that in the next moment, it's wise to assume that the old conditioning will reassert itself. And so then what is, I think what you're asking is, okay, then what do I do? And what I would propose is continue to just pause and be vulnerable to your own self again. And then you're asking, does that change over time? And my experience is yes. So it's both. It's instantaneous, absolutely 100% complete now, and progressive over time, because there's a softening of that habit the more that you continue to tell the truth to yourself in this way. And what my experience is, it reveals to me what it is that I really want. So in those situations where I thought I wanted somebody to say a certain thing, or respond a certain way, or look at me a certain way, call me on a certain time, or whatever, that what I really wanted wasn't that. That was just an idea that I had that I thought was going to give me what I really wanted. But what I really wanted was just this innocence, just be with this innocence. And from this innocence, what's needed? Very little. And then life sort of arranges itself around that. So the right people are all, it's funny and odd and difficult to believe, but the right people are always showing up at exactly the right time. And they're always revealing to us what it is that we most need in that moment. And so as this becomes clearer for you, then I trust that the absolutely perfect people will be in your life to reflect that to you. And whether it's the same people who are showing up today or different people, I don't know, but it will be the perfect people. That much I know.
That's very helpful.
Good.
Very helpful. Thank you, Joey.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for I really honor your courage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joey, can I go?
Sure.
Alice, I really, really appreciate it. Whenever you shared that story, I was reflective of I broke down with the same exact experience like a couple of weeks ago, and I was very depressed for like 3, 4 days, and whatever you were sharing was like exactly my experience too. Like, so I really appreciate you sharing that. To clarify more on that, Joey, is um, when you say like to open up to the vulnerability of your experience, uh, I didn't get that part.
maybe you didn't need to. Do you feel like there's a lack or a problem right now?
um, in my experience, I know we use many words to describe many things or whatever. What really helped me is like you always used to tell is uh, we have to see in our own experience, and we have to probably use different words to describe our own experience, and maybe these are just pointers. And when you look at it in our own experience, we might have some subtle differences in ourselves, like no matter what you say. So whenever I was doing the course Radical Acceptance, I was trying to fit in whatever you were saying, the words, into my experience and trying to find it and to get somewhere, but that didn't work. When I just let go of everything what you've said and just like probably like didn't worry about whatever you said, that's when, oh, this is what Joey was pointing to. This, I was running away from this unworthiness. What if I just rest with this? What if I just stay with what's here? Um, is that exactly what you meant by opening up to the vulnerability as well?
Yeah.
Where I didn't get the part where perfect people will just come in. I mean,
It seems to be true. Isn't it true that your whole life that, I mean, you have opinions, you think, oh, those are the wrong people. I was in the wrong place with the wrong people, the wrong time. But what I'm pointing to is that right now, you're here and you're okay.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not only are you here and you're okay, but you are more aware of that than you've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
So then it has to be that it's all perfect.
Mm.
It's just when we give our attention to the story that says it's all wrong, it's all a problem, nothing's ever working out, it's never good enough, it's the wrong people, the wrong place, the wrong time, someday in the future we'll all be okay, that we seem to suffer. But then in this moment we can tell the truth, which is, well, actually I'm here, I'm okay, despite all of my thoughts to the contrary. And forget about what might happen a second from now, because a second from now you might be feeling depressed and you might be stuck in a loop of hopelessness and despair, and it's never going to be okay, and it's the wrong place and the wrong people and the wrong time. But right now, in this instant, is there a problem?
Time and time again, like especially for the last 6 months, I've been seeing that, and there seems to be no problem. Even though there are obsessive thoughts, even though there is anxiety, even though there's depression, I just let go of the story about what's happening and mind's interpretation of what it is and how it's all messed up, or it's just this. It's just, and there's nothing wrong. It's just interpretation again, whether it's wrong or right, or it's just, I'm just okay already, and I'm just whole. There's just I feel like what I've seen as like the default state is just okayness, the just default, and whatever we do adds up to the suffering. It's I'm just letting.
Sort of, but then what I'm saying is that whenever we're trying to solve the problem,
Mhm.
and I would agree with that, but we've only known up to now, perhaps, this mode of trying to solve the problem. And so we say all of our actions were coming out of this attempt to solve the problem. And then clearly, every time we try to solve the problem, all we're doing is reinforcing the sense that there's a problem. And so then from that perspective, it seems to get worse.
Hmm.
And so then from that perspective, it's true what you say. Well, anything we do just contributes to suffering. But I'm proposing that, so there's this idea that's somewhat popular in, I think, Buddhist influenced circles, that life is suffering. And then the tendency is to want to withdraw from life into something else. So then we invent this idea that there's consciousness or awareness or wholeness or whatever we want to call it. We give a name to it, but subtly we're believing that that's something separate. So then we perceive that there's my life and my actions and my thoughts, and that's all suffering. And then I can withdraw into consciousness or awareness where there is no problem. And I'm suggesting that that's only half true.
Mm-hmm.
And what's also true is that our lives, our manifest lives, including our thoughts and our actions and the people and the places and all of that, is also included. And that we can act and be moved from okayness instead of from this desperate attempt to solve a problem.
Oh yeah, rather than the divisiveness of it, include everything, and it's springing out from okayness. Everything is just okay, no matter what you think is happening, what's happening.
But that has to be, so yes, and to be clear, we can't get there from just affirming everything is okay, everything is okay, everything is okay, everything is okay. That won't work. But when step one is, as you've described, just time and time again, to pause and just notice what's actually true, what's actually here. Oh, I'm here, I'm okay. And then from that okayness, which is so innocent, it's not I'm okay, it's just okay. There's okayness. I don't know, it seems so tender. I don't know, it's like water. I can't grasp it. It just slips through my hands. But I know it's true because I can experience it every time I pause and just kind of ease into it. And it's, wow, this is surprising, but there's okayness. Then to be moved from that okayness, to not indulge oh, I got to solve the problem, I got to do something so that I can fix everything, but to just be moved from that okayness. What okayness wants to move. Okayness wants to express. So then how does okayness express? Because that's what I'm saying is, I think, is a mistake. And I'm not saying you're making this mistake, but I notice people making this mistake of okayness is, oh, I'm just okay, okay, okay. And then there's a denial of everything else, because it seems like in order to be okay, there has to be a retreat into some kind of separate okayness. And I really find that okayness can move us because it wants to move, it wants to express. And the more that we open to it, the more we discover that in fact it has always been expressing, that what we mistook as suffering was actually revealing this okayness. It was the okayness revealing the okayness.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. That's what happens when you live with roommates in a foreign country.
Try living with roommates who are young children.
I want to ask you one more question. I went to this a wellness group, and they talked about positive sense of self, and how positive sense, like a sense of self, can make a lot of difference in your life. And they talk about affirmations, or I don't know, and it seemed like true, like it seemed like that actually works. But there do you believe in the sense of like self and
Well, yeah, we have a sense of self, don't we?
hmm,
I mean, if I'm talking to you, you don't think I'm talking to the wall. You have a sense of self. You have a sense of who I'm talking to,
yeah.
right? And then we have so one way that many people attempt is to get rid of the sense of self. I don't know any I don't know anybody that works for it. Not to say it couldn't work. I just don't know anybody it works for. What I see is people who are attempting to deny a sense of self. So then they drop personal pronouns and speak in strange ways. But does that actually get rid of the sense of self? Because no, they still know, they know who I'm talking to. They respond to their name. So there is a sense of self. And then the question really is, what is it that we are layering on that and burdening that with? So I think the more authentic way to really understand or discover what, if somebody's pointing to this, we could say the transparency of self. That I think would be a better way of expressing an authentic discovery of what people refer to as no self. But that's not getting rid of a sense of self. It's just discovering the transparency of it. So that's one approach.
Mhm.
But I don't necessarily see anything wrong with having if you were to have anything that you were to associate with your sense of self, I would say it's probably better to associate positive qualities than negative qualities. I think it would be better to associate with your sense of self that I'm somebody who's okay, I'm somebody who's lovable. I think that's better than I'm a piece of shit and nobody could ever possibly love me. But I do really, I mean, personally, I believe that first discovering the transparency of self is more valuable than just trying to change the baggage that is associated with the sense of self. And I find that from the transparency of self, what I find is that there are certain, and I know some people take issue with this and they really object to this when I say this, but so be it. It's my experience that from the transparency of self, there are certain qualities that seem to be inherent that they're not attributed to myself. It's not me. Because if I try to claim them for myself, then that's just a trap. Because then I start finding the evidence why that's not true. And then I'm stuck back in, oh, well, I've got to hide and protect and project and all that kind of stuff. But from the transparency of self, there seems to be, in my experience, qualities that I talk about sometimes, like innocence, authenticity, honesty, love, compassion. Because this transparency of self. So when I talk about a transparency of self, what I'm talking about is that my sense of self is simply that. It's just a sense of self. It's just that I'm functional. I respond when you talk to me. I'm able to, know that this is my hand and I can pick up this cup and I can put it to my mouth. So it's a functional sense of self, but the transparency of self that I'm referring to is that when I look honestly and inquire directly right now, I don't find anything more than just that sense of self. It's a functional sense of self.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, when I inquire directly right now into this sense of self, so you have a sense of self. If I say, hey, you know that I'm talking to you, so that you have a sense of self that's able to functionally respond and react. When I inquire into that directly in my own experience, all I find is that sense of self. I don't find that there's something more to it than that. So then it instantly, in my experience, reveals that there's nothing to protect. And I'm not saying that I won't protect my body. I will defend my body. If somebody comes and attacks me, I will defend my body. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you say, hey, Joey, you're ugly and you smell bad and I think you're wrong about everything and you're stupid. I don't find anything here that needs to be protected. Whereas the old way was, how dare you? You're attacking me. So then I'm assuming that this sense of self has some substance here called me that needs to be protected. But what I'm saying is, in the direct inquiry, this sense of self is revealed just to be a sense of self. So then what, but there's still aliveness here. And I think that's what I'm also saying. I sometimes see what I perceive to be a mistake is to then say, well, I see that there's no separate self. There's no substance behind the functional sense of self. And so therefore, this is the false conclusion, therefore, there's nothing. And I'm saying, no, clearly there is aliveness. Clearly there's something here. There is something happening. There's aliveness here. And that I cannot seem to find anything about this that needs to be protected or defended against somebody calling me ugly or saying I don't love you. Now, does that mean that there won't be feelings, that I won't have feelings? No, it doesn't mean that either. But that also behind that, there's nothing that needs to be protected. So these feelings are happening, but I say there's nothing behind it, but let me rephrase that. The aliveness does seem to have attributes, qualities. Those are the qualities that I was describing: innocence, compassion, love. And there's a sense of wholeness, and unity, and oneness, so that I don't perceive. I mean, I have again a functional sense of self, so that I perceive myself here and you there. But beyond that functional sense of self, there's also this direct experience of oneness. So then where is the separation between you and me? In direct experience, I don't find a separation between you and me. And so my actual direct experience is that we are one. And from this, there arises this quality of compassion and love. That's my experience.
That's a quite a load there for me for for an amateur, but
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's about being amateur or not. It's just you have access to your direct experience. That's all I'm really ever proposing. You don't need to care at all what my experience is. It doesn't matter. The only value that it has is pointing you to look for yourself and see what you discover. And you're free to discover whatever you discover. You could discover that for you, maybe what's actually true is that Joey's full of shit. It doesn't, it's absolutely fine. So I mean, there's really no value in taking what I say on as a belief. It's only the only value that I perceive in anything that I can say is if you use it as something to point you to inquire for yourself, and that gives you an experience of yourself that is healing.
That is what?
Healing.
Okay. By the way, you said something about perfect people, right?
Yeah.
And that really did happen. And I was in the state for like a week, as I told Alice. And after that, I was just like allowing that experience, that unworthiness, rather than paying attention to how mine rejects it and how I get into victimhood, but seeing as it is and just being myself and just showing up. Like I hung out with people, I made friends, and my crush actually likes me too. We went on a date, so great things happened,
And then see what happens when things don't go the way you want, and
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
because that's always the test.
yeah. That I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah. Well, you don't. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But just letting you know that in that adversity, when I thought nothing's actually happening,
Yeah.
I was with this unworthiness.
Yeah.
That's not actually true. I mean, when I'm just being myself, there are people who gravitate towards me.
That's right. Well, I'm happy that you have had that experience, because that's what I've been pointing to for a while. So I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah. One point I just want to add, I don't know why, but my crush, when they just saw me, they realized I'm the one, and I didn't even speak a word. So that's how powerful it is, I guess, when you're just being and just showing up. You don't have to say a word.
Yeah. Sometimes saying words is helpful too. But yeah.
Okay. That's all I have for
Good.
this week.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? I think it's time for lunch. Let me see the time. It's a little early for lunch, but I can do an early lunch. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your showing up. And see you next week. And for anybody who's watching this on YouTube, again, you can sign up if you want to join these live at joeylott.com/now. I always gratefully accept donations at joeylott.com/give. And got some workshops, the metaphysics, magic, and healing, which I've gotten some very positive feedback on, which is now the recordings are all available. You can find that at joeylott.com/magic. And got another one coming up that's starting on this coming Saturday. That is the Mythical Self. And I don't have a good convenient link that I can tell you for that one, but if you're on my mailing list, then you would know about it because I've sent out some emails about it. If you're not on my mailing list, then why not? You can sign up on my website. That's joeylott.com. There's presently a banner across the top. You can just sign up there, and you'll get updates from when I have blog posts and other things like that. All right, see you guys. Bye for now.